Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Professor Venerable Kotapiti Rahula, Professor, Department of Pali and Buddhist Studies, University of Pennsylvania, Honorable Mr. M.C.S. Bakir Makar, President Bakir Malika Center for National Unity, Al-Sheikh Mufti M.A.M. Rizvi, President also known Jamiah Ulama, Chairman Mr. M.A.M. Dear brothers, let me at the outset express my very sincere thanks to the Muslim Council of Sri Lanka for having afforded me this opportunity of saying a few words on this occasion, and also for honoring me by inviting me to be the chief guest on this occasion. I hope you all will agree this is not an occasion for a long speech as such, because what is to be said had been already said by the previous speakers. I shall be very, very brief in my speech. As we all know, Sri Lanka is a multi-ethnic country with a pluralistic society. Diversity of its inhabitants has a long history and is a reality that cannot be denied by anybody. This is the basic thing we have to remember. Sri Lanka is a pluralistic society with a multi-ethnic composition. It is a failure to accommodate and celebrate this diversity and manage it that leads to all conflicts. Muslims, as we all know, form an integral part of the Sri Lankan nation and has deep historical roots extending over a period of millennium. Muslims of this country came to Sri Lanka as traders and have been coexisting with the other communities, living in peaceful and cordial relationship over a period of 1,000 years, making their contribution to national progress, identifying themselves with all national issues, including national independence. Muslims came originally as traders, over the years endeared them to the local people and won the confidence of the Sinhala kings, were respected in the courts of the Kandyan kings, served in their army, and functioned as physicians and as envoys of foreign countries. These facts are very little known to many people for this country. It is this ignorance that leads to mistrust about Muslims, their religion, traditions, and way of life. Though the Muslims have been living in this country for over a millennium, there is widespread ignorance about Islam and Muslims. Ignorance is the breeding ground of prejudice. And when there is prejudice, there is mistrust and absence of confidence. And this leads to breakdown of healthy relationship. As the Venerable Thero emphasized, there is an urgent need for all of us to create mutual understanding through interfaith dialogue, intercommunal dialogue, and foster harmonious relationship. When there is ignorance, the ignorance, as I said, is the breeding ground for prejudice. And when there is prejudice, there is conflict, and the harmony breaks down. In order to foster healthy relationship and cordiality, we must make serious effort to build bridges of understanding through interaction, intercommunal, interfaith forums. This will create mutual understanding, which is absolutely essential for intercommunal harmony in a multi-ethnic country. Today, as we all know, Islam is being projected as a religion of violence and bloodshed by the Western media. This media image of Islam plays an important role in shaping the understanding and attitude of the people about Islam. Today, what is happening in some Muslim countries in the Middle East by some extremist elements in the name of Islam, Islamic State implementation of Sharia is totally alien to Islam and total violation of Islamic teachings and its ethical norms. Events of this nature had never taken place in the long history of Islam, in the name of Sharia or in the name of Islamic State. These tragic events that are taking place in the Middle East are purely the creation and manipulation by the West to destabilize these countries and install in power their puppets and exploit the oil resources of this country. It was the West, through its diplomatic maneuvers, planned the dismantling of the Ottoman Empire and partitioned the Middle East and created Zionist state of Israel. It was the West that created Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, to fight against the Soviet army. And it was the West which coined the phrases like Islamic terror, jihadism, and fundamentalism. And what is happening today is an episode in the long Western diplomatic and military drama. It is the Western media, through the portrayal of the distorted image of Islam as religion of violence, and that shapes the attitude of the people about Islam today. Therefore, there is an urgent need on the part of the Muslims to make a serious effort to remove the misconceptions about Islam and present its true teaching to the non-Muslim brethren. As Muslims and Sri Lankans, we must appreciate the contributions made by the historians and the academicians of the Sinhala community for producing serious books on the scholarship of the history of Muslims of Sri Lanka. Professor Lona Devaraja's book entitled Muslims of Sri Lanka Over 1,000 Years of Ethnic Harmony shows the cordial relationship that existed between the Muslims and the Sinhala community and their national contribution. Another noteworthy contribution was the book entitled Islamic Jurisprudence and International Perspective by Justice Veeramantri, which explains the meaning and scope of Islamic Sharia from different perspectives. These are worthy studies that made solid contribution to enlightening Islam to the non-Muslim community. I really appreciate the speech made by the Venerable Thera, where he really voiced the concern of the majority community about certain issues regarding Islam and Muslims. Here also I attribute most of these things to ignorance. Though we have been living with the majority community for the last almost 1,000 years, we have failed miserably in our duty to convey the message of Islam to them, who we are, for what we stand, what is our nature of our religion, what role it has played in the world, what role we have played in this country, what contribution we have made to the progress and advancement of this country, and in what way we have been interacting with the other communities for the last 1,000 years. We have miserably failed. In Jamiah Naleemiah, we had an international seminar on Muslims of Sri Lanka and the minorities of Southeast Asia, that with the help of the International Center for Ethnic Studies. And on a 3-day seminar, inviting research papers from non-Muslim historians, mainly drawn from Peradeniya University, we produced an academic work that very faithfully and scientifically documented the history of Muslims in this country, studying their history from different perspectives. It was too late, and we must congratulate Lona Devaraja for making her contribution, and also for Judge Veeramantri. So books of this nature should go to the average Sinhala community so that they may understand us, understand our mission, understand our role, understand our contribution. Dear brothers, the most dangerous thing related to intercommunal harmony is the absence of knowledge and ignorance. It is ignorance that could create prejudice and later lead to conflict. Therefore, there is absolutely important need today, as the Venerable Thera pointed out, for clarifying certain fundamental issues related to Islam. Quite rightly, Islam, as we said, is peace, and Islam is the message of peace, and Islam seeks to cultivate cordial relationship with all the communities. There has not been a single instance in the history of Islam where Islam has been forced down on the other people. If we read the book Preaching of Islam by Professor Thomas Arnold, he beautifully illustrates how Islam peacefully spread in the countries of Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, and all these countries. No Muslim king went and conquered these countries. No political force was ever enforced to convert any people in this country. It is true, these were majority Buddhist countries, but due to historical situations, the countries, the Islam over the years spread in these countries, and they were very peacefully living in those countries, making for national contribution. There had never been any conflict between Buddhism and Islam in Indonesia. There had never been a conflict between Buddhism and Islam in Malaysia. So these are all historical instances. We must know our history of Southeast Asia, which is very, very important, and our religion and culture and way of life. We have been living with the majority Sinhala community for the last 1,000 years, interacting with them peacefully, harmoniously. Even in the distant Sinhala villages, we could find pockets of Muslim villages where there is communal unity. And the trust the Kandyan kings placed on the Muslims is really proverbial. They had absolute trust in Muslims to the extent they sent them as their envoys to foreign countries. Like the Boneka Bahua, Yapahua sent Abu Usman to the court of Mamluk king with the idea of establishing relationship. So this has been our history. I do not want to make a long talk on this occasion. You are already tired, but we had a very fruitful session today. Especially, I'm very happy the speech made by Brother Imtiaz Makar, highlighting the importance of intercommunal harmony and relationship, and also the tolerance of Buddhism and how Muslims have been reacting with them. I am also very happy to hear the observations made by the Venerable Thera that needs reflection on our part in order to remove the misunderstandings about Islam, and so that we may understand each other and we may make a steady progress towards a future Sri Lanka where we all live harmoniously and peacefully towards a stable, peaceful society. I thank you very much.